I'm back! While Arcadi was here holding down the fort and making an awesome video, I was off gallivanting in Japan. We visited the Yoshida side of the family, gave our kids their first taste of Japan's cities and castles and volcanoes and bananas theme parks, and ate. We ate a lot. And I'm just gonna put this out there, I think the food in Japan is better than the food in lots of other places. This is MinuteFood. I'm not saying that everyone that wants a delicious meal should be exclusively gorging on soba or onigiri. Although there is a lot I love about Japanese food, this meandering monologue isn't about the specifics of Japanese cuisine itself. It's about the high standards with which so much of the food in Japan seems to be prepared and served. Japan has more Michelin-starred restaurants than almost anywhere else in the world. But I'm not just talking about world-famous restaurants or high-end cuisine here. I'm also talking, in fact, I'm mostly talking about everything else. The nondescript neighborhood restaurants, the food shops and train stations, the breakfasts at hotels, the prepared food in Japanese convenience stores, aka konbinis, which seriously are a total revelation. I have definitely had the occasional disappointing meal in Japan, mostly at super touristy places. But overall, the food I've eaten in Japan is more consistently delicious than anywhere else I've been. And as someone who is basically on a constant quest for deliciousness, I can't help but wonder why. I'm gonna tell you right off the bat that this isn't a normal MinuteFood video where I present a really rigorous, highly researched answer to a culinary question. I don't actually have the answer to this one. I've only been to Japan twice, and there are a lot of people with a lot more experience and knowledge here than me. But even as a relative outsider, there's an emphasis on specialization and mastery and an attention to detail that is way more evident in Japan than other places I've lived or visited. And that has got to play a role in Japan's above-average deliciousness. Have you been to the Cheesecake Factory and leafed through this beast of a menu? Well, most Japanese restaurants are the total opposite. They tend to specialize in a single dish: ramen, soba, tempura, tofu, whatever. And all they serve is a few varieties of that particular dish. So it's a pretty safe assumption that basically any restaurant makes whatever they're serving at least reasonably well. Japan is also home to shokunin, a concept that translates more or less to a relentless pursuit of mastery. Chefs in Japan, along with artisans of all kinds, spend decades, lifetimes, working to master their craft and deliver the highest quality experience possible. That kind of dedication seems to pervade how many people in Japan think about food as a whole. There's a pride and an attention to detail that's impossible to miss, whether you're dining at a fancy pants restaurant or eating a bento box from the train station. There is obviously a lot more going on here. It would take a PhD-level effort to even start to get at the question of Japan's above-average deliciousness. If you could do it at all, seeing that delicious is pretty subjective. But say we could identify what ideas and practices make food in Japan, or elsewhere for that matter, particularly good. Could we learn from these principles and apply them in other places to help improve how people there cook, eat, and think about food? I mean, I have long wondered why here in the US the standards for food, especially inexpensive food, are so low, and how we might be able to change that. Here's the tough thing though. The ideas and practices that make food in any one place particularly notable are undoubtedly tangled up in a tight knot of that place's history and culture and society. So even if we knew what these delicious makers were, they would be really hard to extricate from that tangle. Then there's the issue of applying them in a different place with its own complicated knot of history and culture and society. Not to mention that we'd have to do all this in a way that avoids messy cultural issues like appropriation and romanticizing. So I just don't know. But I am going to keep on eating my way around the world, recognizing deliciousness where I find it, and pondering, and perhaps burdening you, with how we all might be able to enjoy better food. Because these kinds of questions make me a more mindful cook and a more informed eater, even if maybe I've bitten off a bit more than I can chew here. Until next time, Japan.